So here's a fact. The World Health Organization has officially declared stress the number one epidemic of the 21st century. Mind blowing. Mind blowing. And an epidemic is simply a situation that spreads quickly or rapidly and affects a very large number of people. And so it was mind blowing to me that it was not just classified as an epidemic, but it was classified as the epidemic of the 21st century. We're talking about stress, y'all. Now, in my short lifetime, I've had the honor over the past many years to work with thousands of people. But in the grand scheme of things, when you think about the entire population, that's really a small amount of people. However, one thing I know from reading a bunch of scientific studies and scientific journals is that you actually don't need that many people to have a proper data sample. What I mean by that is the hundreds and thousands of people that I've talked to over the years is enough to confirm that stress absolutely is an epidemic. And the work that I do in a health space as a health coach, and the work that I do in a business space, and the work that I do in a personal development space has shown me over and over and over again that stress really is an epidemic. So it wasn't it wasn't earth-shattering to me when I read that the World Health Organization has declared stress as the epidemic of the 21st century. It was more sad because I kind of look at stress, y'all, as like I look at obesity, or like I look at type 2 diabetes, or how I look at high blood pressure. While it's true that a small percentage of people are going to be dealing with obesity, hypertension, type 2 diabetes because there's a genetic component, or there's something that really is making it truly difficult to reverse those conditions. The truth of the matter is, for the overwhelming majority of people who are overweight, hypertensive, high cholesterol, diabetic, they actually don't have to be. All they have to do is make lifestyle changes dietarily, exercise, sleep, rest, recovery, water, sunlight, movement, social connections, purposeful living. All they have to do is make changes to their lifestyle, and they could actually get rid of those conditions. And that's how I look at stress. While stress is a part of life for a lot of us, those of us who are dealing with chronic stress, that's the stress that kills. Acute stress, we're all going to face acute stress throughout our lifetime. But those of us who are dealing with chronic stress, I kind of look at it as a lifestyle disease. Like, yes, it's unfortunate. Yes, it's going to be challenging, but did you know you don't have to live with this? Like, there's something we can do about your diabetes. There's something we can do about your high blood pressure. There's something we can do about your excess weight. And there's something we can do about your chronic stress. So if you're here today to learn what it takes to finally put chronic stress behind you, you're in a great place, because today I'm going to talk about the triggers. And I'm going to spend a lot of time on triggers because I think it's really cool data. And I think I'm going to add in my perspective from what I've seen from clients and students over the years that triggers chronic stress and why. And I think you guys are going to really love that content. And then I'm also going to share a few misconceptions about stress, even one that I just recently learned when I recently revealed that I am personally dealing with working through burnout, right? And so I'm excited to tell you guys about some misconceptions around stress that I think are widely held that might help a lot of you guys today. And then I'm going to talk about some solutions at the end. And so this should be a really good conversation for all of us, because I want to make sure that you guys feel the importance of today's topic, but then also that you understand that there's something that can be done about it. And the more we talk about this, the more you learn, hopefully the more we can develop a solution for you that will help you move the needle. So good morning, regulars. What's up, Dr. Travis, Candace, Stacy, Doreen? It's good to see y'all. Welcome in. Let's get into talking about this wonderful topic of something that's impacting all of us, whether it is personally, our own personal situation, or we have individuals in our lives that we love, that we care about, that are dealing with chronic stress. Hopefully, today's episode will help up in that for a lot of us. And so I'm excited to start off talking about triggers. Now, the reason I want to talk about triggers is because, I study stress, and one of the things I found fascinating in my studies was that although stress impacts all of us differently, and some of us can be going through the exact same circumstance, and one of us is stressed out and the other one isn't. So the stress really depends on the person, whether or not a circumstance is stressful. However, one of the things that I found super fascinating in studying stress is that there are four common things. There are four common things that typically we are at the root of stress. There are four common triggers. So again, while all of us are different, we can all be in the exact same circumstance. The pandemic is a great example, right? In the pandemic, some of us thrived and had an amazing time and came out better. Others of us, it was really hard on us personally, really hard on us professionally. A lot of people perished, right? So we can all be in the exact same circumstance and have completely different outcomes. So we know that to be true. We know we are all individuals with our unique perspectives and ideologies and all of those things. However, the data has shown that there are some common triggers that we see across the board when it comes to individuals dealing with chronic stress. So I want to start off, I wanted to put a super cool spin on this today, y'all. But before I do that, what y'all sipping on? So I got my tea. Per usual, y'all know to gather your tea before you come to these Monday morning keynotes with yours truly, Coach Lisa A. Smith. And so I got my tea here. And today I'm sipping on one pink lemon ginger mixed with peppermint. Okay, so I don't like this pink lemon ginger tea. You buy something, you try it, you realize you don't like it, and you got to figure out a way to finish it off. So I'm drinking this pink lemon ginger. I don't like it, so I mixed it with some peppermint tea. Peppermint is like one of my favorite teas right now in this season. So I would love to know what y'all sipping on this morning while y'all come and get this health. Let me know in the chat. Is it your lemon water? Because we got to start the day with our lemon water. What kind of tea you got going on? Living the Authenticated Life said, this is Sharon. Hey, Sharon. I'm sipping on my lemon water. Amen. Y'all know the rules. We drink water first 25 ounces within the first 30 minutes awaken. That's how we get that digestive system flowing. That's how we hydrate. Dr. Travis, lemon water. Let's go. Andrea, green tea with raw honey. Okay, raw honey. She done jazzed it up. I love it. Doreen says she's sipping on green tea, ginger, turmeric, and lemon again. Okay, that's an anti-inflammation powerhouse you got, Doreen. She said, I got the ginger, the turmeric, and the green tea. Oh, you healthy. Stacy said, key lime water. You guys know I've only bought a key lime once in my whole life. Wow, that's deep. Yeah, I've only bought a key lime once in my whole life. It's interesting, though. I just ordered some sea moss. And the ingredients for the sea moss is spring water, sea moss, and key limes. So I consume them, but I don't buy them. Shout out to you, Stacy. All right. So y'all sipping today. All right. So let's come get this health, y'all. Let's get into it. I am your host, Coach Lisa A. Smith. This is the live recording of the Plant Protocol podcast every Monday, 10 a.m. EST, my Monday morning keynote where we delve into how to help your health go from wherever it is to a 12 out of 10, right? We want to make sure we're optimizing your mental, physical, and emotional health so that you can live a life of what I like to call radical obedience, doing what you're feeling called to do despite the presence of fear and uncertainty. So welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a Monday morning keynote. Let's get into chronic stress. So I want to talk about triggers, then I'm going to share misconceptions, and then we're going to talk about resolutions. So there's four common triggers according to the big data. But I want to confirm this according to my little data. Okay, so that's me working with thousands of people over the last several years in the area of health, that I can confirm these four triggers that I'm about to share with you are very much can be stress triggering for people, right? Can trigger an adverse response, both physically in the body, mentally and emotionally. And so when I share them with you, I'm going to tell you the circumstances for which I've seen them in most commonly. And that'll make sense as we go along. So let's get into the four top triggers for stress for individuals in their lives. All right. The first one is uncertainty. uncertainty. So when individuals are faced with circumstances in which they're uncertain of the outcome, they're uncertain of what comes next, they're uncertain of what's on the other side of a decision, it can trigger a stress response in the body and the mind. Now, I'm gonna tell you where I see this most, because I feel like this is super true, right? We have people, all of us have different levels of risk adversity, right? So some of us are super risk averse, like Lisa. I like predictability. I like to know what's coming. I like to know what to expect. And others of us, shout out to me, we'll take big risks without knowing what the heck is on the other side of it. Shout out to me quitting my 9 to 5 many years ago, moving to Rome, Italy, with no way of making money and just figuring it out as I go. And I've made big decisions like that several times since then. And God has been with me every time. But I'm a little less risk averse. I'm willing to risk more sometimes for a possible better outcome. Others of us, we are not so much. Some of us just prefer certainty. You're not right or wrong either way. But one of the things that the big data has shown is that uncertainty is one of those things that can trigger a stress response in a lot of people. Now, I want to tell you, that's what the big data says. Let me tell you what my small data says. I have seen this the most in individuals who struggle with confidence and self-worth. I have seen this uncertainty thing really impact people who struggle with believing in themselves, also known as confidence, and self-worth. Okay. Now, I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. I am a business coach in addition to being a health coach, right? But in business coaching, when I'm helping people launch their speaking careers, launch their coaching businesses, a lot of times people who deal with confidence issues, self-worth issues, imposter syndrome, I'm not sure if I'm good enough, they struggle with the uncertainty side of starting a business. Because let's be clear, business is risky. There's no doubt about it, right? So there's like entrepreneurship, there's a natural built-in scariness for all of us. Like it doesn't matter whether you're prone to taking risk or you're not. Entrepreneurship, there's a ton of uncertainty. However, there's even more, in my experience, for people who deal with confidence issues, for people who deal with self-worth issues. And so if they are trying a new venture, like, you know what, I really got a story in me, or I really am passionate about a certain segment of the population, and I want to start speaking, and I want to write a book, or I want to start a business, and I want to put myself out there, but they also deal with confidence issues, I find that triggers more stress in those individuals, and it's a little harder for them. What I normally see is they suffer from what I like to call a failure to launch, right? So they will get into ecosystems programs, whatever, where the mission is to start the business. The mission is to write the book. The mission is to start speaking, but they'll just consume and consume and consume. They get addicted to consumption. Let me just learn one more thing. Let me just get one more credential. And they never launch. They never launch, or they never launch significantly. And they have all these reasons why, right? But at the root of everything, it is usually a belief issue. Like, I don't know if I trust myself. I don't know if I believe in myself. I don't know if this is possible for me. I watch other people be successful, so I know it's possible, but I don't know if it's possible for me. And so I have found that while the big data says that uncertainty is one of the biggest triggers of stress for people, I have found personally in my career that one of the underlying reasons for that is confidence, is self-worth, is imposter syndrome, it's I'm not good enough, it's I don't know enough. All of the stories we tell ourselves about why we are not qualified to do the thing that we feel like God is telling us to do. And so here's what I have found has worked for me. Let's take a sip, y'all. Oh, child, that pink lemon ginger is disgusting. Okay, so let me tell you what I've personally done to combat uncertainty. Many of you guys have heard me talk about my concept of radical obedience. And if you don't know, I define radical obedience as doing what you're being called to do, despite the presence of fear and uncertainty. But let me tell you how being radically obedient to what you're being called to do helps with the uncertainty. I have found for me personally and a ton of my clients that one of the ways you can kind of circumvent some of the uncertainty that comes with being new at something and doing hard things is that you only do what you feel God is telling you to do in the moment. So you don't make decisions out of fear. You don't make decisions out of this false sense of safety, like, oh, I know I don't belong in this role anymore in this job, but I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to stay because it feels safe, right? So you don't make decisions out of fear. You don't make decisions out of a false sense of safety. You don't make decisions out of lack, but you make decisions based on what you truly feel like you're being called to do, right? And the reason this helps with uncertainty is because radical obedience grants you favor. The more obedient you are to what God is calling you to do, the more favor you receive. I know this to be like receipts upon receipts, y'all. Like I told you guys a story a couple of weeks back about when I was talking about, matter of fact, that episode dropped on the podcast today, about one belief I used to have that kept me from like being free, and it was about money. And do you guys remember when I told you guys the story about I used to believe that I had to wait until I got more money before I could start giving money. Like I used to believe that I had to wait till I got more money before I could start investing. I used to think that things like tithing, investing, saving could only happen once I got more, not realizing that doing that first is what got me more, like giving first, tithing first, saving first, paying myself first, investing first so that I'm investing into my future. I had to unlearn that you need a certain amount of money before you could do those things. And I had to learn that you actually were securing your future and securing yourself when you did those things first, right? So I told you guys that a couple of weeks back, one of the beliefs that I had to shift about money. And so what does this have to do with stress and uncertainty? When I started tithing consistently, haven't missed a week, haven't cheated God on an amount, you know what I'm saying? I give the whole 10%, no matter how much. Sometimes it's thousands of dollars I have to give every week, right? Which is a blessing to be able to give that much. And every time, like, when I tell you guys, God has not missed a beat. When he says press down, shake and runneth over, it's going to come back to you. You only giving a percentage of what you're going to get back. It has paid off every time. So my point is being radically obedient to giving, to helping others financially, has paid off tenfold, 100-fold every time. So when I say that there's uncertainty in entrepreneurship, for example, one of those things for most people is like money. Am I going to earn enough to support myself if I start my own business? So one of the ways I can better ensure I don't have to worry about making enough money in business is making sure I do what God is telling me to do, which is give some of it away every week. So by being radically obedient to giving, I significantly decrease the amount of uncertainty in my business because I give, therefore I get every single time. And we have not missed a beat. We don't pay bills late. We don't pay people late. My team is paid, and I'm safe. And so radical obedience for me has been a solution to uncertainty. So if I do what I feel like I'm really being called to do, I'm not making decisions out of fear. I'm not making decisions out of lack. I'm not making decisions off a false sense of safety, but I'm really doing what I feel like God wants me to do. I know that that's going to grant me favor. That's going to grant me unusual favor. That's going to grant me extraordinary favor. I know that things come back to me 100-fold, and not because I want to believe it and I'm affirming it. It's because I literally watch it happen every week and every month and every year. So that radical obedience is one of the ways that I have been able to combat the uncertainty that comes with some of the hard stuff we have to do in life, like putting ourselves out there for the public to judge. So that's the first one. And what I love, I'm gonna just take a pause here to just give like a huge shout out to radical obedience, because I was just thinking about this morning when I was thinking about, talking to you guys this morning, and I was thinking about like, okay, Lisa, how have you dealt with uncertainty? And when radical obedience instantly came to me, I then started thinking about all the people that we have helped move into a space of radical obedience. So I was just thinking like that just this year alone in our 30-day vegan challenge and our 12-week plant-based coaching program, we have helped individuals take their vision off the shelf or dust it off and activate it. So for example, we helped one woman to start her mentorship program for teenage girls. Shout out to Samiko. Hey, Samiko. We helped Sharon, who's watching right now. She dusted off her podcast and finally recorded that next episode while she was in Farm to Table. Shout out to Sharon. We have helped individuals. I'm working with one of our clients right now who was in the challenge and in Farm to Table, and she is launching her speaking business with me where she's going to minister to women in leadership. She took a chance on herself and said, I'm ready. After she got healthy with us, she was like, I'm now ready to be radically obedient to my assignment. I'm helping another private client right now write her book about her childhood. Unfortunately, she experienced a lot of abuse, and she was like, I think it's finally time to put my story out there and tell my story through writing and through speaking. So she's working with me privately to launch that initiative. So I can't overstate how good it feels to live in your purpose and to finally begin to do what you feel like God is calling you to do. And I could go, like, I have numbers of stories and testimonials like that. People who have used to work with me, I've helped them launch their own initiatives and company. Shout out to Coach Milan, who's killing it right now. Her and Coach Dana are about to do their own 30-day plant-based challenge. They are speaking and teaching. Milan is doing fitness, like all of these individuals that come from our ecosystem. So like, it's a big deal. Like, I need you guys to understand, if you want to reduce the amount of uncertainty that causes you stress, you definitely want to start being radically obedient to what you're feeling called to do, because obedience grants you favor. Obedience grants you favor. That's number one. That's the first trigger. Make sure, note takers, make sure you drop these in the chat. Number one, these are the triggers for stress. Number one, what's uncertainty. Let's get into number two. Okay. So shout out to Sharon in the chat. Okay, let's get into the second thing that that big data says triggers stress and that my small data confirms. So the second thing is a lack of information. So big data has shows when people don't have a lot of information, and we can really think about this in like big issues, like the political climate right now, like what was really going on and still going on in the federal government with like people's jobs and livelihoods being on the line, right? When people have a lack of information, they know only maybe bits and pieces of what's going on, but don't know all of what's going on. It can absolutely create a stress response in the body and in the mind. And I want to tell you where I've seen this happen most in my experience with individuals. I see a lack of information trigger a stress response in people who insist on sitting in the back of the room, literally and figuratively. They're hiding. So what happens is you have individuals who are smart enough to know they need to start doing something different in some area in their life. You know, for me, it's going to be health. So they're like, okay, Lisa just introduced this 30-day challenge. Let me sign up. I definitely need to move the needle with my health. Right. But then they come into the community and they stay in the back of the room. So they have a question, but they don't have the courage to ask it. They're unclear about a directive that I've given, but they don't have the courage to ask for clarity. They sit in a program for weeks and weeks and never say anything. And I'm not saying everybody that doesn't talk is unclear, but a lot of times your lack of clarity and your lack of information comes from not talking, comes from not speaking up, comes from not asking for what you need. And so I have seen a lack of information cause a stress response in people who insist on sitting in the back of the room. Because let's be honest, like a lack of information shouldn't even be a thing for us in 2025, right? Like with all of the information on the internet, most of us are like information overload, right? I am on YouTube contributing to the thing, right? So the presence or the availability or the access of information is not the issue. So how is it that the data is showing that a lack of information causes a stress response for people? It's gotta be somebody's not speaking up. Somebody's not asking for things to be explained. Somebody's not asking for the help, asking for clarity, asking to be informed, right? Now, I know this is to be true, again, with my audience, right? People who come into our communities that we curate, whether it be a health community, a business coaching community, or personal development community at our company, the Plant Protocol, people, no matter how much I beg people to speak up and get what they need from the experience, we are all humans and we all suffer with our own things and we come out our shells in our own time. And there are still a percentage of people who stay in the back of the room and don't move up to the front row to get what they need. And so some people fight to not to be seen or heard. It's amazing to me. Fight not to be seen or heard. Maybe they're afraid, or even so some people are afraid to ask a question. It's like stage fright. It's like, being in front of people. It's like speaking up, that nervousness, right? Like public speaking. I get it. But then there's another percentage of people who are ashamed to ask a question. And like there is some fault with not knowing something. And so they have shame around needing help or needing clarity or needing something explained again, right? And so that's where the lack of information comes into play. Now the person can't finish the task or can't complete it with excellence because they don't have the information they need to do so because they didn't speak up. So this lack of information is a big deal. And so moving up to the front, literally, that means when you physically walk in a room, but also figuratively, whether it's a virtual room or whether you're in a community, make sure the coach knows your name. Make sure the coach knows what you do. Make sure the coach knows what your challenges are. Make sure they know what your gifts are. Like that's what's got me plenty of opportunities. And I'm an introvert, but I always leave an impression when I'm in rooms. Like I leave an impression not from an egoic standpoint, but just from I'm confident in what I know. I'm confident in what I do. I don't have to talk all the time, but when I do, it's going to be meaningful and it's going to be impactful. And I'm not afraid to ask a question for clarity, right? So you got to make sure people know who you are. The lack of information, this one, in my opinion, is more self-imposed than any other triggers that I'm going to go through today. A lack of information is almost always self-imposed. Now, sometimes that's not the case when you're dealing with like big government and politics and all of that stuff. I get it, but that's also like having the ability to release what you can't control, right? But a lack of information should not be a stress response for us, guys. We have to start speaking up. So even if you're one of those people who like to say, I like to stay in the background, I don't like to talk, I just like to observe, I don't want to say anything, go ahead. And I hope you're able to have a phenomenal experience and get the information you need through the people who are bold enough to ask questions, right? Because it's been my experience, again, that the lack of information comes from us not speaking up for ourselves. I had a friend, and so a couple of weeks ago, we were in Atlanta for a conference and a workshop. And I thought this was so cool. So you guys some of you have heard me talk about like my propensity for the front row. Like I'm a front row behavior all day long. I go into a room, if I go to a concert, if I go to a comedy show, if I go to, I don't care what it is. I want to be in the front. I want to be in the front. Like, I don't want any obstruction. When I go to Coach Kiwi's fitness classes, she will tell you. So my good friend and brand manager, Coach Kiwi, she is a group fitness exercise instructor, and she is phenomenal. She's super dope, right? And so we both used to live in Detroit. And so she would host these group fitness experiences in like a local park in the city in downtown Detroit. And all these people would turn out. She would have this big stage with the lights, a DJ. It was a dope experience. And she would teach her signature class, Kick Abs. And she would have all these people come out. They're already big fans of hers. And so she would be on the stage doing her thing. Now me, I only like to show up when it's time to get to work. Like, I don't want to show up and socialize a whole lot, right? So my introverted self, like, well, what time do the exercise start? Because the event would always start like 45 minutes to an hour before the actual workout began. And I don't care to get there that early. But what that means is if I'm only coming just when the exercise is about to start, that means that the front row is usually going to be filled, right? That people done claimed they spot, set their water bottles down, whatever. You can ask Kiwi to this day. I don't care what time I show up. I do not care if I'm there the minute before the music starts. I am going to be in the front row. They are going to make room for, excuse me, yeah, that spot right there. Excuse me. It's just your towel. Excuse me. Like, I don't play with the front row. I'm not about to be in the back of the room. Like, I need all the energy. I need all the experience. I don't need nobody head in my way. If I go to, I don't want no beam in my way. If I go to a conference and I ask a question, I need you to look me in my eyeball so you will know who I am. Like, I need all the juice, right? So I'm front row behavior all day, right? With everything I do. And so I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, a workshop in Atlanta, and we got into this small conference room, and it was a small group of us, and with my coach ET. And I made my way to the front of the room. Now, the room was already pretty much filled, but I managed to find me a seat in the front row. And I ended up sitting next to my friend RJ, right? Shout out to RJ. And I'm sitting next to RJ. And as soon as I walked up, I'm like, RJ, this seat taken? He like, nope. And y'all, he said, he was like, we was just talking about you. I was like, what you say? He said, we was just talking about the front row. And I was like, really? And he told me such a cool story. He's like, before listening to you talk about the front row and how much different experience it is to be in the front row, he's like, I used to automatically sit in the back of the room. And he was like, I almost did it today naturally, just like a knee-jerk reaction. He said, I walked into the room today and my eyes instantly went to the back of the room to see what seats were available. He said, but then I remember what I heard you talk about with the front row. And he said, so I turned around and I came up to the front. And I was like, what? He's like, yes, right? And so I sat next to him and we kicked it the whole class. Then this is the super dope part, though. This is the super dope part. So when ET was done teaching for the day, he was leaving out because he had a flight to catch, right? And the door that he was leaving out of was right by us in the front row. And so as he was leaving out, he's giving us all handshakes in the front row, right? Now, that's not even the dope part yet either. The dope part is that later in the day, RJ told me that's all I needed. He was like, sometimes I come to these events because I need to increase my proximity to another man of God. And sometimes I just need to touch him. And sometimes he was like, so he shook my hand on the way out. And now I'm good for a couple months. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, that gives me the energy I need, that reinvigorates me. And now I have what I need until the next event. I said, you better. I said, what? He was like, that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in the front row. I said, what? I was so excited, y'all. I don't even know if it's that exciting, but I was excited. And so I was like, wow. He's like, I'm just so grateful for this new perspective of getting up to the front of the class. And so anyway, I said all that to say, a lack of information doesn't have to be. I find that it is us not moving up to the front row, whether it's literally if we're physically in a space, or if we're virtually in a space, right? Like let people know who you are. Get close enough so you can touch somebody if you need to. Get close enough so you can hug somebody if you need to. Be bold enough to ask questions. Be bold enough to say when you don't know or that you need help, y'all. Like, you should not be stressed out from a lack of information when you have proximity to the individual distributing the information. It's crazy to be in a room with somebody that's teaching, and they invite you to ask them something. They invite you to get clarity, and you still don't take it. This literally happened the other day. We taught a prep class for our 30-day vegan challenge on Thursday, and I waxed deep for 90 minutes, right? And I'm like, guys, what questions do you have? Drop them in the chat. Raise your hand. What's up? And ask me anything. Do you need to know something about our protocol, our dietary protocol on the challenge, movement, mindset? How can I serve you, right? And then I thought we had got through all the questions and everybody was super clear. I said, okay, y'all clear. Okay, y'all clear. Sure enough, the next day I wake up to an email with somebody asking me 4 questions. And It wasn't because she wasn't in class, because her first sentence was, dope class last night, coach. I was wondering, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah. Now I done told y'all I'm dealing with burnout. Now I done created a space for you to ask questions. You don't take me up on it publicly, but then you want to email me privately, which causes more work for me. Guys, you guys got to be considerate too. I'm like, I just asked last night if you had any questions, and you were there and you didn't ask. And I've had people do this to me multiple times. Like, man, coach, that was a dope such and such you just did. I was wondering, question. If I'm on metformin and what? Can I have this type of sweetener? What? What if I'm dealing with emotional? What? I'm like, if y'all don't want people to know y'all name and y'all face, send the question to me privately in the chat on Zoom. But please don't email me 100 times after I just held a whole 2-hour class to answer all of your questions. Move up to the front and get what you need when people offer the space. Take it up. Shout out to Dr. Andrea. Yes, take up the space. Okay, that's enough on number 2. Let me move on. Let's get into the third trigger for stress. Those first two. Come on, note taker. Ujo, where you at? You put number 1 in the chat. Drop number 2. Lack of information was number 2, Ujo. Okay, let's get into number 3. The third, according to the big data, the third trigger that causes a stress response in a lot of people is a loss of control. Now, let me tell you where I see this the most in my small data. I see a loss of control trigger a major stress response in individuals very specifically who are unhappy in their career. So a loss of control. Now, 2 of the biggest, I would say, well, three specific types of control that I notice with people who are unhappy in their career. Now, fun fact, last week I talked about burnout, and the data says, with specifically regard to burnout, that the most common form of burnout is occupational burnout. Now, I know to be true that for most people, their occupational burnout is partly stemmed from the fact that they are not in love with what they're doing. They're in some part of their career, they're miserable. And I know this from talking to people year over year. I got to get out of here. I got to put in my notice. I've been talking to people who are saying stuff like, I'm about to file FMLA and take mental health weeks for a couple weeks, and then I'm quitting. Like it's out of control. Occupational burnout, occupational dissatisfaction is like at an all-time high. And because a lot of us aren't surrendering to radical obedience. A lot of us aren't creating exit strategies from stress. A lot of us are playing the safe game, thinking it's safer to stay where you are versus creating a strategy to move from there to where you want to be. But we'll get to some of that later. But here's what I'll tell you about a loss of control. Now, again, a loss of control can trigger a stress response in people in a variety of situations. So it could be like a loss of control. It really also makes me think about really unhealthy relationships where people are being controlled or people are, their autonomy is being taken away. However, thank you, Ujo. She back on it, y'all. Okay, y'all give Ujo a round of applause in the chat. Okay, but one of the common places that I've seen a loss of control trigger a stress response just because of the work I do is people in their career. The types of control that I have noticed that people really struggle with is time, when someone else has control over their time, right? And so if you're in a job that, number 1, you hate, and number 2, you gotta be at, like you don't get to set your own schedules. I know some of y'all get to set your own schedule, but a lot of people don't. And so it is like one of the worst feelings in the world to have to be somewhere and you feel like you don't have any say-so, any control over where you are, how long you're there. Like someone else is telling you, you need to be here 7 to 3. You need to be here 9 to 5. You need to be here 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Like that can be devastating for a lot of people us not feeling like we have control over our time. So a loss of control, specifically time control, is stress triggering for a lot of people. The other one is, which is pretty obvious, we know, like money, right? So feeling like we don't have control over our money, like how much we can earn, like someone else sets what you're worth in that role. And I have found that to be hard for a lot of people because sometimes the cost of our dreams and the cost of our lifestyle surpasses our salary. Okay. So the loss of having financial autonomy, right? Where somebody else sets your ceiling, right? Somebody else says it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how good you are at your job. You're only ever going to make up to this much in this role. So I have found that to be stressful for people. But the biggest loss of control that I have seen to cause the most stress in individuals is a loss of creativity. So you would think time and money, they're important, but if somebody else is controlling your time, but you have creative freedom, it actually makes that time thing not as big of a deal. Trust me. I have found that a loss of creative freedom, a loss of creative control has also played a huge role, in a stress response. So I think one of the reasons I'm so grateful for the work that I do and so grateful for the company that we've built is because I get to express my creativity, my brand of creativity exactly how I envision it in my mind. So I can write a talk, I can write a curriculum, I can build out a program, I can dictate how I want to deliver my gift of speaking and teaching. Like it is completely up to me. So I could have these gifts and be sitting in somebody else's company and they're not being utilized. And I have found that to be one of the most stressful things for a lot of people, right? You're here, like, and that was me, by the way. Like I'm not speaking from theory. Like many years ago, I was a social worker working for the state of Michigan as a foster care worker. At that time, I had a gift of speaking and teaching, and I was able to use it minimally. Luckily, I was appointed as the head of a department called MYOI. And I was responsible for pouring into the teenage foster care youth. And so I was able to set our meetings and what we were going to talk about, but I was the only person in the entire county. So luckily I had a little bit of a way to utilize my gift of speaking and teaching in that 9 to 5 role, but it didn't really get good until I started my own coaching company and speaking career. And so depending on what your gifts are, depending on what your natural proclivities are, depending on what your natural talents are, for a lot of people, a lot of stress comes into play when they lose creative control. So a loss of control, and this can be in, like I said, a multitude of areas, but I have seen it the most in occupation, when it comes to occupation. So for those of you who are dealing with this and not really feeling like you have that outlet or not really feeling like you're making the steps to reach that level of autonomy, that level of self-actualization, which is the highest level according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization says that our gifts and our talents are being utilized at the highest level. And for some of us, that's not the case, and it's killing us because chronic stress kills, right? And so we have something inside of us that we know we should be working on. We have something inside of us that we know we're being called to do and we're not doing it. And so that's why it makes me so proud when we work with our students to first optimize their health and then optimize their gifts, because I understand how healing purpose is. Because y'all know purpose heals. Chronic stress kills and purpose heals. So I want you to fight like heck to regain creative control if you have lost it, because that will help to diminish the stress response in the body. So that means higher levels of inflammation markers like C-reactive protein. This will revitalize your immune system. It can restore gut health. Like when you're able to pour out and you're in control of how you contribute to society, it makes a huge difference in your physical health and your mental health. And a lot of you guys know this already, But that loss of control is really, it really, your health really takes a hit when that happens. Okay. So I want you to fight like heck. Don't settle. Don't settle. Don't let your good become the enemy of your great. Y'all ready for number 4? Forget y'all. Ujo, are you ready for number 4? Okay. Fingers on the keyboard, Ujo. Okay. Number 4, the final trigger. According to big data, that is one of the most common reasons for stress is conflict. Conflict. Okay. So anytime we have conflict in our lives, it can cause a stress response. Now, this one is like, yeah, duh, Lisa. But let me tell you where my little data has seen this happen most often. I see people being stressed out from conflict very specifically in their personal relationships, especially romantic. Especially romantic. So, conflict, of course, can stress you out if you got conflict on your job, with your superiors, or with your team, conflict with a friend, a family member, all of that stuff is really painful because it's like, we like to be at peace, right? Most of us, we don't thrive off of drama. It's interesting when it's somebody else's. It's painful when it's ours. But it really hits home when it's your romantic partner. I've seen this. So much so that several months ago, earlier this year, I hosted what I like to call an intimate conversation. And I hosted a panel about marriage for individuals in my ecosystem who are dealing with marital challenges. And so I called in, I'm not married, but I called in 8 of my colleagues and friends who I've met in different communities that I've been a member of. And they're all married. They all have been married for years. And I asked them, would they mind joining a panel to talk about how they've been able to curate a healthy marriage? Because I was hearing repeatedly over and over again from people in my audience about how their relationship, specifically their marriage, is causing stress. And so we hosted this event, this virtual event. We had a good turnout. The panel was phenomenal. We had a good time. But I did it even though, I don't work in the relationship space. When I recognized that this was such a big deal for a lot of people in our audience, I hosted a conversation about it and I brought in the experts because I can't speak to marriage, but I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged that there was something that we could do about it. And so conflict is the 4th stress trigger. And I'm going to tell you what I've personally done and what I've recommended to our clients who are dealing with stress as a result of conflict in their life. And whether that conflict, again, is coming from a romantic relationship or work conflict or familial conflict or wherever it may be. Or I've had students who are having conflict in their place of worship, right? Like with their role in some ministry. And so it can come from a multitude of places. But the thing that has really helped me, and I believe will help a lot of you guys who deal with conflict, is communication. Now, that's not earth-shattering, but it's hard as heck for a lot of us, right? We got to start talking to each other, guys. We have to start expressing ourselves. We have to. Now, the reason I say communication is because when I'm teaching people how to combat stress, I tell them their relief is usually going to come from one of 2 places: making a tough decision or having a difficult conversation. Okay? Making a tough decision or having a difficult conversation. Relief is usually on the other side of one of those 2 things. And so that having a difficult conversation piece is integral because that means, number 1, you got to talk to somebody else about what's going on. You can't resolve it on your own. When you have conflict, you usually have to involve the other human or humans. It might be a group of people. It might be a team of people that you have to go to and speak up and express yourself. And you got to do it in a healthy way that invites resolution. That invites resolution. So conflict can be a really tough one because if you are a person who also deals with number 1 that I talked about today, which was uncertainty, that communication piece can be challenging because you don't know what's on the other side of that. You're not sure what's on the other side of that conversation. And the uncertainty is usually what keeps us from having the conversation. Am I right about it? How many of you guys can relate to this one? Like, has conflict caused you stress? And have you avoided resolving it and just trying to deal with it or work it out on your own because the uncertainty of what's on the other side of a difficult conversation kind of keeps you in your head? Like, yeah, okay, I see some 100s, some hearts coming up on the screen. Thank you guys for acknowledging that. Like, I just want to make sure you guys understand, though, that chronic stress kills, and you have to do the hard work of having difficult conversations. Otherwise, you're going to keep all your thoughts and feelings and perspectives on the inside, and that's going to destroy your immune system. That's going to spike up your stress hormones. That's going to compromise your physical health. It's going to compromise your mental health, right? And so it's important that you guys recognize that while these solutions are not easy, speaking up, moving up to the front of the room, having difficult conversations, making tough decisions, launching something even when you're not super confident. Like, I'm not under the impression that I'm teaching something that's easy. I'm not under the impression that I'm teaching something that is a overnight solution or a light switch solution. I'm not under the impression that I teach things that are easy, but y'all need to hear this. Like, what I know for certain is that I have spent years helping people with weight issues, with heart disease, with kidney failure, with fatty liver disease, with depression, with ADHD, with insomnia, with analysis paralysis, with food addiction, with drug addiction. Like, I need y'all to understand. And I'm telling you right now, all of that stuff don't come from how you eat. All of that stuff doesn't come from not exercising. All of that stuff does not come from your DNA. So a lot of it comes with not dealing with the stuff that's stressing us out. Like, literally, can't put down the sugar, can't put down the caffeine, can't put down the fried foods, can't stop impulsively shopping, can't believe in themselves enough to launch anything. You gotta deal with your stuff. I'm not under the impression that this is easy, but somebody gotta be the bearer of hard news. Somebody. And I'm up for the job because I ain't scared of y'all. Right? I'm up for it. I'm not gonna be one of those people. My accountant came over yesterday and we were going over some stuff. And I was telling her, she was like, Lisa, I want you to come speak at my church. And we got this women's ministry and I want you to come. I said, yes, I'm here for it. Right. But then I was like, let me warn you. Let me warn you. Let me tell you a little bit about what I believe and what I don't believe. And I told her, before you invite me to a women's ministry and I blow the top off the thing and start getting people in their feelings, I want you to know that I don't believe in meeting people where they are. I don't. Now, I know it's a commonly held approach to transformation. I have been in rooms, I've done speaking engagements where people say, that's too hard. You can't ask people to give all of that up. You can't ask people not to eat any sugar. You can't ask people to drink that much water. You can't ask people to eat plants like that. You can't. And I'm like, and they like, you got to meet people where they are. And I'm like, no, you got to meet people where they are. Me, I'm not going back down there. They need to come up here because down there ain't working for them. I'm not going to be like, well, as long as you eat right for most of the week, you can treat yourself to some junk. Well, although it's been killing you and you're already on 2 medications and stressed out and can't sleep, maybe you should just consider leaving that job 8 years from now after the babies graduate. I'm like, listen, you ain't got to leave tomorrow, but 2 more years, you might not make it. So what's the exit strategy 6 months from now? Like, how can we get out of here the quickest? Like, I don't believe in meeting people where they are. I just don't think it works. Like, no offense. And when I say it don't work, like, don't y'all be all absolute with me thinking like, for some people, Lisa, or I did the moderation thing. I know it's always some outliers, but for the overwhelming majority of people, y'all been trying to moderate 40 pounds off of you for years. It ain't working. Moderation ain't working. You've been trying to moderate yourself off of metformin and beta blockers. It ain't working. It don't work. Like meeting you where you are. I'm not one of those coaches that's going to be like, just do the best you can, even though you've been dying slowly from this for years. Like, is we in the relationship or is we out? What's the plan? I'm not telling you to lead a man. I'm not telling you to lead a woman. I'm saying make a decision because your stress is killing everything. So I don't believe in meeting people where they are. And even after I told her that, she was like, yeah, I'd still like you to come speak at the church. I was like, amen. Amen. Just so you know, I'm not about to come in there and rub people on their back and stroke their hand and tell them, okay, let's just try not to have some potato chips today. I'm like, throw all that foolishness away. Come to my class, sign up for this, quit playing with me. Like, I'm just not one of those people. Like, we moving too slow for me. It's just all going too slow. I just don't have the pace for it. So all I need y'all to know is that I'm not under the impression that these things are easy. I understand that they are, can be challenging depending on where you are in your growth journey. Okay. But I need you to know that if you stressed out right now, chronically, not acute stress, but chronic stress, is taking a toll on your body and your mind. It's taking a toll on your quality of life. And to think that you're just going to deal with it and go with the flow for longer until some type of miraculous thing happen is super unrealistic. And I just need you guys to be a little more realistic about how deadly stress is and how, most importantly, aggressive you have to be with getting back your freedom, getting back your happiness, and getting back your life. Like, call somebody today and schedule a difficult conversation. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you today to sit down with a pen and pad and make a difficult decision. I dare you to weigh the pros and cons of every one of your options. And I dare you to decide something today. I dare you to get off the fence today. Like, I triple dog dare you to get out of the gray area today. Like, I dare you. I dare you to do something hard today. Like, because for some reason, we just think like it's just going to naturally, it'll work itself out. Everything don't work itself out. Some things, a lot of things require us to work on it. A lot of things requires us to work on it. So I just dare you to get off the fence today. Now, I want to share with you guys a few misconceptions. And then finally, I want to give you guys an update. And we go into our new segment today, our BS segment, also known as business strategy. But let me give you guys some misconceptions about stress that will hopefully also help give you a different perspective. So you'll know that you need to be a little more radical about a resolution. So one misconception about stress is that we're supposed to manage it, that management is the only option, right? So the only way to cope is to manage stress. So that means that, okay, let me go for a walk. Let me take a couple days off. Let me do some self-care. Let me meditate, let me pray. Like, all of those are great and we should all be doing it. I do all of them, right? I take walks, pray, and meditate. However, I don't think that managing any problem that I have is the solution. It's a long-term solution to health, right? So while I can do those things in the moment, those strategies are great for acute stress. So like, you're working on a difficult project, or maybe, you pulled the trigger and made a tough decision and you're going through a breakup, right? Like, so those stress management techniques are useful, but they're useful for acute situations. Like, you're going through a breakup and it hurts right now and it's hard right now, but it's not going to last forever. You're doing a big project and it's a little overwhelming and it's pushing you outside of your comfort zone, but it's not going to last forever. Like, that acute stress is super healthy, and that's what stress management is for. But the misconception that all stress is meant to be managed is wrong. Chronic stress requires an elimination strategy, not stress management. So if you're going through something and it's killing you and you haven't made a decision and you've been going through it for years and it's creating all this pressure and it's creating all this overwhelm and it's creating all of these, intrusive thoughts, then you need an exit strategy. You probably need an enter strategy. And you probably need an engagement strategy. And I've taught this in other classes and other episodes, right? We have a whole series on the Plant Protocol podcast about stress, where I break down an exit strategy, an enter strategy, and an engagement strategy. So you can search the Plant Protocol podcast /stress. And I've recorded multiple episodes about it. But chronic stress is not to be managed. It's meant to be eliminated. So that's the first misconception that we have to correct. The second one, and this is me when I told you guys last week that I was dealing with some occupational burnout myself. I had this realization about stress because occupational burnout is actually categorized as a form of chronic stress. Who knew? I'm like, please, but who knew, right? So scientifically, it's categorized as a form of chronic stress. And here's what it taught me, which is the misconception is that it's only stress if it derives from undesirable circumstances. Now, this one was mind blowing to me because I used to believe that too. The misconception is stress is only derived from undesirable circumstances. But the work that I've been doing and the burnout that has come with the work, especially the intellectual effort, has taught me that stress can occur from overextending yourself with things you enjoy. Stress can come from desirable circumstances because we most of us we deem stress as a bad word. It's not a bad word. It actually can be quite healthy. But most of us when we're referring to stress, we ain't talking about nothing good, right? And so because for a lot of us stress can be we see it as a negative, right? You would think that if you're stressed, it means it came from something that's undesirable. It came from something that's not healthy. Like it came from, going through a breakup. It came from working a job that you hate where your creativity is stifled. It came from being in a financially strapped situation for a really long time. It came from health issues, right? That can be super stressful. You or somebody you love get diagnosed with something, and that can like turn your life upside down. And so when we think stress, we think of circumstances like that. But for me, burnout came from happy stuff. Like the part of the reason it was burnout is because I couldn't stop. I won't stop, like, because I enjoy this. So the stress doesn't have to come from things that are undesirable where you need to change your whole life and make hard decisions. It's it I liken it to when I teach in our plant-based coaching programs and we talk about supplements and vitamins. One of the things we tell our students is that not having enough of something, also known as deficiency, vitamin or mineral deficiency, we all know that to be dangerous. We all know deficiency, not having enough iron, not having enough B12, not having enough calcium, not having enough potassium, not having, enough protein, not having enough whatever. All of those things can be harmful to health. So we know deficiency, and that's what we usually focus on when it comes to vitamins and minerals. But one of the things I have to tell our students is it works the opposite way as well. Having too much of those things can be just as harmful to your health as having too little. Like having too much vitamin D, having too much iron, having too much B, by having too much vitamin C, having too much calcium can be just as dangerous as having too little. But very rarely does anybody ever think about that. Like we'll pop a multivitamin or we'll eat a ridiculous amount of meat and protein shakes and all of this protein thinking it's fine. And then we wonder why we get kidney failure. Like, yeah, that can ruin your kidneys. Too much protein, right? You can have protein in your urine, too much. And so, but we very rarely are concern ourselves with the effect of too much of something that's good for us. We usually spend most of our time thinking about what happens when we have too little. But in my case, with some occupational burnout, it came from having too much of something that made me happy, too much of something that's good for me, which is service. And so I'm gonna tell you guys shortly when I give you guys a quick update on it, what I've done and the really big realization that I've come to about burnout. But that's a misconception about stress, is that it always comes from bad situations. And that's not true. And this was a great learning experience for me because there's nothing I need to stop doing per se. I just need to do less. But I'm so blessed to say I'm just going to do less of the things I'm already doing. So I don't need to make a decision about leaving a job or make a decision about a relationship or make a decision. Like everything, like my workouts, I don't have to figure out how to get those in. Like I already do that. I already eat right. I already do all the meditation stuff. I already do all the mindfulness stuff. I already do all the self-care stuff. It was just like, I'm doing everything. Like I don't miss a day with my workouts. I don't miss a day eating plants. I don't miss classes with my students. I don't cancel on my students. So I'm just doing everything. And it's all the stuff that I chose. It's all stuff that I elected. It's all like I control my life. I control my time. I control my days. I just did too much. And so it just became like overwhelming. But I don't want to stop any of it. I just have to do less. And so that burnout it doesn't always come from situations that need to go away. Sometimes it needs to come, in my case, with self-control. Right. Okay. So that's the second misconception. There's one more misconception about stress I want to share with you guys before we get into BS today. And the third and final misconception about stress is that I'm kind of going to put this twofold. The first is that it's unsafe to do anything other than what you're doing. Right? It's unsafe to do anything other than what you're doing. So if you're stressed out about your relationship, and I know personally, I have clients who desperately want out of their relationships, but it feels unsafe for a variety of reasons. For some people, it feels unsafe because of their faith-based beliefs, right? That tells them, death do you part. For some people, it feels unsafe because of their financial circumstances. For some people, it feels unsafe because of what other people may think. So a lot of times we stay stressed because we feel like it's unsafe to do anything other than what we're doing. Okay. And that can be really hard because it's like almost like, a rock in a hard place. But the reason this is a misconception is because I want you to know that any decision that gets you your freedom, your happiness, your joy, or your health back is always safe. It's always safe. These are your human rights. Anything that restores wholeness, anything that restores health, anything that restores mental or physical freedom, anything, it's safe as long as it's legal. It's safe. It's safe. So the belief that you are currently sitting with, that it's unsafe to make that decision. It's unsafe to walk away from that. It's unsafe to let that go. It's unsafe to tell them no. It's not true. Like anything that gives you the relief you need to live more optimally, more wholly, more completely, is not unsafe. It's the better choice. But I understand what our mind does. I understand our beliefs. I understand what it's like to be human, of course. But I need you guys to know, like, the stress is more deadly than whatever you think is on the other side of that tough decision. And so you have to, the thing that I have found that can combat the feelings of unsafety when it comes to making tough decisions is faith. Some of us, we need to strengthen our faith muscle, and you strengthen your faith muscle by lifting heavier weight. That's how you strengthen all muscles. If we want our biceps, our triceps, our hamstrings to grow, our glutes to grow, we have to lift heavier weight. The same thing applies to your faith muscle. Part of the reason you're staying in circumstances because they feel safe is because you've been unwilling. You've likely been unwilling to lift heavier weight when it comes to your faith. Okay. And so exercise your faith muscle by giving God something heavier to lift. Stop making decisions that you feel are doable within your own might. Okay. So there's no reason to have faith if you're going to make small decisions. Like, you need faith when you make big leaps. Right. So give your faith muscle something heavier to lift. Take bigger chances, take bigger risks, say yes to bigger opportunities, right? Say yes to freedom. Like, yeah, you can leave that long relationship and still find somebody else. Have faith. Give God something heavy to lift. Don't stay just because you feel like it's the end of the road for you. Don't stay at that job just because you feel, who's else going to pay me retirement money? You can pay you retirement money. Did you know you could create money? You just got to believe in yourself, and then you got to develop a skill. I mean, there's skills that go along with it. The money don't fall out the sky, but to stay somewhere where you're miserable because you think it's safe and you're not willing to have faith is also wild. Okay, it's also diabolical, right? And so yes, you need strategy. I'm not telling somebody here to just jump. You get, depending on how your brain works, you like, I at least need a plan. Absolutely. I at least need so much in the savings account. Absolutely. But some of us not even working on any of that stuff because we just think it's too unsafe. So we don't have an exit strategy. We're not saving to make ourselves feel safer when we do leave. We're not investigating all of our options. We're not exploring. Like, trust me when I tell you, it's safe. Okay. It's anything that's compromising your health and your well-being and your happiness requires an exit strategy, and sooner than later. So the last misconception about stress is that it's safer to stay where you are versus doing something different. And that's not true. Okay. So look at y'all sticking with me. This is crazy. Y'all ready to get into our final segment? Somebody put BS in the chat. As we move into our business strategy, our final segment for today, we introduced our business strategy segment during last week's Monday morning keynote. And I want to follow it up today. So yes, this will be a place where I'll actually give you guys business tips and strategies and all of that stuff. But I introduced the segment last week to share with you guys that I'm moving into burnout recovery. And this is outpatient, right? This is outpatient. So I'm navigating this thing on my own. But I had two realizations that I wanted to share with you guys about burnout since we talked last. And I also have done something to move on my burnout recovery plan, right? My BRP. If you're this happy and you burnt out, thank you, God. What a blessing. Okay, so let me give you guys some updates. So thank y'all, BS in the chat, business strategy. Okay, so, and I have a business strategy tip built into this last little bit here. So last week I told you guys, had a hard realization, dealing with some burnout. There's some stuff I need to figure out, some stuff I need to do different. So I think I told you guys that one of the things was definitely working less, just like literally working less every week. And so my goal is to get to a 4-day work week, which means 3 days, no work. Okay. So I'm pretty confident I can pull off one consistently. I'm 100% confident in 1 day right now. I'm about 95% confident that I could do 2, right? And so I'm on track to 3. So I've already started blocking off days. I've been looking at every week coming up and blocking off. Okay, so I'm committed to taking more days off as I work my way up to 3 days off. Okay. So the other thing I think I told you guys that I needed in my burnout recovery plan was additional help. And so we have officially this week put someone on payroll, which I'm super, super excited about. Officially brought her actually back on the team. And so I'm really happy to report that, because it will be like crazy of me to think that I could just work less with the same workload and recover from burnout. And so I was very honest with you guys about, I know I need help. Right. So I know we need at least 2 spots. We filled one of them. Okay. So I still need another assistant, like administrative assistant. And so looking for that, but I have just this week, because I don't be playing when I'm on mission to do something. And so I move pretty quickly. And so I proposed something to someone this week who used to work with me, and she's back on the team, back on payroll. So I'm excited to report that, guys. And then so now I need to fill one more spot, at least, maybe 2, but I need to fill at least one more spot with an assistant. And then, so I've done that. I'm happy to report. And then the final thing, this is a realization I had. There's no baby steps in me. Also had that realization. Here's one thing I'm super proud of. So part of the reason I'm burnt out is because I have to do everything at a high level and with a spirit of excellence. But that's not what caused burnout. It's the fact that I'm doing a lot at once, and doing a lot at once because there's demands for my presence, my talent, wherever, right? So you're in demand and you have opportunities and you want to take advantage of the opportunities and you want to do a good job in everything that you do. And here I am today. So that's what happened with me. But I had this really cool realization about this, which is Malika, you asking for Malika talking about it needs to be 3 days in a row. This is what that's why I'll be telling y'all a lot. Cause no, Malika, just let me work up to a 4-day work week. In a row is crazy. Okay. In a row is crazy. Let me stay out the chat. Okay. So, but let me tell y'all this realization, two realizations that I had. The first is, again, part of the reason I am in the condition I'm in is because how like I move with speed, I go hard, I put my all into stuff. I want to be really good for you guys, right? And I realized, I don't know, this might not be a big realization for y'all, but the exact same energy that got me into burnout is going to be the exact same energy that get me out of it. It's the fact that I naturally move quickly. It's the fact that I have high amounts of confidence. It's the fact that I believe in myself. So I realized that I'm super confident in my ability to recover from burnout because I have a natural propensity to execute. Isn't that so cool? Like, I was like, yo, Lise, you can use the same tools that got you burnt out to get out of burnout. Like, all I got to do is reroute the energy to the recovery plan. That's part of the reason why I was able to hire somebody so fast. Like, because I move quickly because when I have a goal, I'm serious about it. I'm like, okay, I need to start taking time off. To take time off, I need help. To get help, let me figure out what I need help with. Let me see who I already have in the ecosystem that can help me so that I don't have to spend as much time on training and all of that. Okay. So, and already we've checked one box here, y'all. Like, I am so happy that the thing that got me into it is going to be the exact thing that get me out of it. It is the fact that I execute quickly. I execute at a high level. I don't stop stuff in the middle. I always finish what I start. It's the fact that, I have high amounts of confidence in my ability. So I don't have to worry about not believing in my ability to do this thing. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So I can use the exact same energy, zeal, and excitement to recover from burnout that I use to overwork. It's not just on me, it's in me. Okay. So that was one realization that I had that got me super excited. And the reason it got me super excited is because I don't have to worry. Because at first, when I first started thinking about this burnout piece, it was, I'm not burnt out from stuff I hate. So how am I going to recover and go back to doing the same stuff and do it in a more controlled fashion? Like, I was a little worried, y'all. I'm like, because I could see if all I had to do was make some tough decisions and have some difficult conversations to get out of a circumstance that was undesirable. But that wasn't my situation. So as I started thinking about this burnout recovery plan, I was a little worried about my ability to truly get to a healthier place with my work, because I'm like, I'm not trying to leave any of it, right? I just want to do it in a more controlled fashion. And which brings me to the final realization that I had, which is, y'all know how when people are, they might work with a financial advisor or something, or they might work with like somebody to help them with their money. And if the person that you're working with to help you with your money, if they're one of those people who believe in budgets, right? Y'all know the budgetista. Shout out to her, Tiffany. But she helps people with, like getting out of debt and moving into financial freedom. And the way she does it is by helping people create budgets. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. Now, y'all know how when part of the reason I think people don't like creating budgets because it feels like you don't have any money to do what you want, right? And so I know that people who help you create budgets for your money, oftentimes, one of the recommendations is that one of your buckets of money is more of a discretionary fund. So you have a bucket for your bills. You might have a bucket for savings. You might have a bucket for retirement. You might have a bucket for emergencies. But then also usually a financial advisor will say you also have a bucket for whatever you want to do. So even though that bucket is limited, every penny doesn't have to feel like it's accounted for. So that means that you could, find out your favorite artist is coming to town and still buy tickets, right? You could be in the store and somebody has a dope sale on something and you can still buy it. So I know that people that help you create budgets to make you feel like you still have some freedom and some play money and some fun money, or you want to go out to dinner or something, they encourage you to create like this discretionary fund so that you can have money to do whatever you want with it. I said all that to say, I realized that I need a discretionary fund for service. I need the exact same, it needs to act the exact same way. Because if I'm going to be like really controlling my output so that I don't get back to a place of burnout, I realize I have to have somewhere to put opportunities that are not predictable or predetermined. It's part of the reason the burnout exists is not because of the stuff that I do on a repeat that I can expect. It's because of the stuff I say yes to that's unexpected. So, for example, last week, after me and you got done talking about burnout, like maybe 10 to 20 minutes after we got off live last week, somebody called me and was like, Lisa, she has a nonprofit. And she's like, I'm wondering if you're available to come speak in December, right? At Wayne County Community College in downtown Detroit. She's like, can you, I done spoke for this program like 2-3 years. And so she's like, are you available in November? Can we write you down? And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be controlling my time better. I'm supposed to be controlling what I say yes to. I'm like, I need a discretionary budget for service. I need a budget. So how would this look if we're going to use this financial analogy and put it into my work as a speaker, a teacher, a coach? I need to have a designated number of hours per month that I get to give away to an opportunity that comes up that doesn't feel like I'm breaking my work boundaries. Does that make sense, y'all? So I need to come up with a budget for service because I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. But also it felt like, should I do it? You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to be more responsible now. Now, I probably also, and this is going to come with the assistant, I need a buffer that helps buffers, like a buffer between me and the opportunity. Cause I'm going to be like, yeah, I can come save your whole church from diabetes. You know what I'm saying? So I also need a buffer, and that's going to come with assistant. Now, some people, they just got my direct number cause I've been working with people for years and they just text me or call me. Can you come do this? Right. When it comes to speaking. And let's be clear, like I have personal boundaries. Like I'm not afraid to tell people no. It's the fact that I don't want to say no. Like I really want to do this. It's fun. Like I love speaking. I love teaching. It's not like I'm afraid to say no for stuff I don't want to do. Like I got a problem with saying stuff to know that I do want to do, like genuinely want to do. And so I realized that just like in finances, if I was budgeting money and I wanted to have a pile of money that I get to play with every month to buy a random pair of shoes or a ticket to a show, I need the same thing for my work. Like while I can stay committed to the stuff that I do, recurringly in our programs and the challenge and stuff like that, it's usually the stuff outside of there. We're like, also last week, so one person called and asked me to speak, but then I also offered to teach a group of people something that they needed to learn in business. I'm like, well, I can set up a time to just teach you guys content creation. And they were like, okay. And I felt compelled to offer it because I knew it was the missing piece in something I had previously taught them. And I need to have the freedom and the safety to do that, but I have to put a cap on it. Right. So that's the next step in the burnout recovery plan. I'm going to create a discretionary budget for service. Okay. And once those hours are used up for the month, then I have to wait to the following month to offer things or say yes to things. So that is the update on today's business strategy segment. And the business tip here that will be a great takeaway for you guys who are starting your own business or those who are already in business is when it comes to training people. So You guys know I'm looking for another assistant right now, and we just, brought somebody else back on the team. But one of the things that will make it much easier when you do have to hire or get help, if you're an entrepreneur, is documenting your processes, right? So that when you have to train somebody, you already have a documented way of how it should be done or how it shouldn't be done. However, here's the real pro tip. Only document processes that you've done multiple times already, and you can say for certain that they are going to become recurring staples in your business. One of the mistakes I've made in business early on was documenting something too early that it turns out we weren't going to use, right? Or that was a process or a system that we didn't end up keeping. So one of the best ways to hire with ease is to have documented processes. However, don't document prematurely. Like, so once you know for certain, like, this is the system we're going to use, this is the way we're going to do this. Like, it's been much easier for me, for example, to train my current assistant on stuff. Like, I'll say, like, this is how we handle onboarding new private clients who work with me. And I was able to give her an email template. Like, this is the email I sent. But I was confident in giving that to her because I had sent it multiple times already. If you're not sure that this is for sure the way we're going to do something, don't document it yet, right? Like, feel your way through it a couple times. Like, I want to say this, or I want to say it in this way, or I want to make sure they also get this in the email before you have to go back and retrain somebody because you documented prematurely. So I know a lot of business experts and teachers, they teach about the importance of documentation, but I want to make sure you guys know, those of you who are in the entrepreneurial space, you guys are going to eventually need help because, again, we're all going to collectively avoid burnout going forward, okay? And help means you have to train and develop people. You got to spend time with your people and make sure they know the role, they know their responsibilities, they know their expectations. And one of the ways you do that with ease is by properly documenting your processes, but do it in the right time and be careful with documenting prematurely. Okay. So that's the business tip of the day. Drop your takeaways in the chat as we begin to wrap up. And I tell you the final step you need to take to combat chronic stress. Thank you guys for sticking with me on this wonderful Memorial Day. Shout out to all the men and women who have paid the ultimate price in service to us, our freedoms in this country. We salute you. Guys, go ahead, drop your takeaways in the chat as we begin to wrap up. And as we do that, I want to invite you to click the pinned link at the top of the chat to get registered, if you haven't already, for our next 30-day vegan salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge. It is happening starting July 1st. Now, if you follow me on Instagram at Lisa Angel Smith, then you have seen me in the past week or so really doing some short reels talking about the importance of how you eat and how you move in an effort to combat stress. Now, if you're dealing with stress and you know, yep, Lisa was talking to me today, I need to make some difficult decisions. I need to have some tough conversations. I need to get my confidence up to take some bigger chances on myself. Then one of the best ways to put yourself in a position to do that, believe it or not, is to think clearly, to be well rested, to have complete mental and physical clarity. And you do that by changing the way you eat. So it might sound crazy, but eliminating chronic stress actually can start with a clean diet and start with physical movement. Movement gets the blood circulating and you get those creative juices flowing. I come up with some of my best content when I'm out walking, running, lifting weights. And so movement really helps you to problem solve. It's a phenomenal free strategy for getting yourself out of a difficult circumstance. And eating right means you can sleep right. Eating right means you don't have brain fog when you don't have all that sugar and dyes on the brain. When you eat right and you don't have hyperactivity in your brain from all the caffeine, then you can think clear and make better decisions. So if you need help doing that, click the link, get registered for our next 30-day vegan salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge. It starts July 1st. Come join well over 430 people who have already made the commitment to come get this health. And with that, guys, where are your takeaways? Drop your takeaways in the chat for me so I can see what was meant for you today. I would love to hear it. Come on, y'all. We done did a whole 90 minutes on YouTube. Hey, 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 hey. We rocked out this morning. So let me hear your takeaways. Let me hear what you needed to hear. Which one was you today? Which was the stress trigger for you today? I specifically talked about 4 major triggers when it comes to stress. And what circumstances I've seen them be the most prevalent in. We talked about a lack of information. We talked about uncertainty. We talked about a loss of control, and we talked about conflict. So what was your takeaway from today? I would love to hear it as I prepare to get out of here. Anybody? No takeaways? No takeaways? I know there's a delay on YouTube as well. Let's see. Sharon says, create a discretionary budget for my time. Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Especially if you're like me and you're doing stuff that you actually want to do, that you actually enjoy. It's like, I don't want to stop any of this, but I know I need to be a better steward of my energy. That's me, y'all. I got to be a better steward of my energy so I won't get burnt out. Karen says, conflict, come to a resolution and or have a tough conversation. 100%. That conflict was a big one. Dr. Andrea says, uncertainty. I will ask clarifying questions because I deserve clarity. Yes, don't let not having clarity stress you out. Just ask some questions. It's safe. And ask them publicly. When I ask them publicly, don't come emailing me privately. I'm busy. Just joking. All right. Any more takeaways, y'all? I appreciate y'all sticking with me today. Y'all, did y'all hit the like button or the thumbs up button? Did y'all hit the like or the thumbs up button? Did y'all hit the subscribe button? Like, what's going on? Are y'all gonna be back here next Monday? Like, what's up? Sharon said, lack of information. That's the one that can be it. Malika said, conflict, create an exit or enter or engagement strategy. Good job. DJ says his takeaway or her takeaway was his or her. DJ, I'm sure. I'm sorry. I don't know. Purpose is healing. Uncertainty is my trigger. Begin to make choices that build confidence. Hey, I'm so happy that was helpful for you. All right. Good job. Good deal, guys. I'm so happy. All right. So I'm out of here. Okay. We will see you back here next Monday, same time. Will next Monday be officially June? I believe it will be. So I'll see you back here in June. Michelle said the BS segment. Hey, BS was her biggest takeaway today. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. See you guys back here in June for another Monday Morning Keynote Live with yours truly, Lisa A. Smith. This has been the live recording of the Plant Protocol Podcast. Until next time, y'all. Bye.